Why did the mysterious Mayan civilization disappear? How terrible is the living sacrifice of the Americas? A video to help you understand the early Americas before the arrival of Europeans in the history of human civilization. The faraway Americas once existed as isolated. The lonely, cold Siberia, the endless ocean, separated the Americas from the center of civilization in the Old World apart from the well-known civilization boundary line at that time. It obviously did not mean that the Americas did not develop their own civilization. On the contrary, the original civilization of the Americas is unique and magnificent according to the fossil record evidence found in the White Sands National Park in New Mexico. The earliest traces of human activity in the Americas can be traced back to 230,000 years ago. The Croatian culture, which was active between 130,000 and 110,000 years ago, was a typical culture of the early Americas according to DNA. The Croatians have the same lineage as today's Siberians. The Croatians are proficient in the use of various ancient and real tools in the early days. Mammals such as horses, elephants, bulls, and geese were the food of the Croatians. In addition, more than 100 kinds of plants are also in their diet. Early theories usually believe that the ancestors of the Americas crossed the White Sands Bridge that still existed at that time and came to the Americas, but recent archaeological excavations show that early immigrants from the Americas may have come across the sea. They may have come from Polynesia or Japan in recent DNA studies. People even found immigrants from Europe, however, due to the fact that most of the American Indians and Asians are more closely related to each other. These early immigrants from other regions seem to have been eliminated after the 17th stage. The Americas entered the ancient stage from the early 8,000 years before the park. At the beginning of this stage, most of the ancient Indians were still hunting. The tools they used were no different from those of the early immigrants, but in the late ancient period, the situation began to change significantly, and the range of activities of the ancient Indians began to expand. They would use fishing nets, fishing hooks, and other new tools to hunt fish. They would also use the catch trap to catch some small animals. Later, around 5,000 years ago, agriculture also began to appear in the Americas. In most parts of the United States today, corn has become the most important crop in the future. This crop, cultivated by the Indians, will become the world's largest food crop, and with the emergence of agricultural production, some fixed gathering points were also formed, and American civilization began to develop in a more advanced direction. The Indian Empire, founded by the Indians, was once the largest empire in the Americas. This was only a small tribe in the Cusco Mountains at the beginning of the 15th century, led by a powerful leader named Pasha Katok, which began to expand rapidly. By the beginning of the 16th century, almost the entire South America and the West Coast had been ruled by the Indian Empire. In order to manage such a vast empire, the monarchical Indian Empire had to have its own administrative system and legal system. Sopa. India is the ruler of the Indian Empire and the religious leader of this country. It is said that the name of this title comes from the legendary first generation of Indian monarchs, Mankapak. Although the Indian Empire did not have independent judicial institutions and iron laws, there were similar customs. The Indians believed in the Indian mythology. It was a worship of many gods. The sun god Indi was the most important god. The 24th of June a year, which is close to the summer solstice, is the most important holiday of the Indian family, the solar season. At that time, the Indian family would distribute crops and livestock to thank the sun god for his gift to the world. It is estimated that the population of the Indian Empire in the Golden Age would be between 4 million and 3.7 million. In addition to the Indian civilization, the Mayan civilization and the Aztec civilization are also important components of the ancient American civilization. The Mayan civilization of Central America was first formed about 2,000 years ago. Its political form is a bit like that of ancient Greece. There is a complex diplomatic relationship between the Mayan castes. Sometimes they are opposed to each other, and sometimes they are allied. Some castes have also experienced regional tyranny. The Mayan civilization has the most mature writing system in mainland America, and a developed literary law, mathematics, and agricultural system. The Mayan text is the only Central American text that has been basically decoded, and 90% of the Mayan text can be interpreted by us at that time. The Mayans would record a lot of information in text, including astronomy, history, and culture, etc. The Mayan manuscript on the paper made by Schubert is an important document of the Mayan civilization. There are only 3 precious Mayan manuscripts in the world in terms of mathematics. The Mayans have a technology system similar to that of the Arabs, but they use a 12-sword system. The introduction of the concept of zero is a major achievement of the Mayan civilization in mathematics. The Mayans had already started using zero in the 4th century AD, which made it one of the earliest civilizations to use the concept of zero in the world. The laws of the Mayans are very worth mentioning. Their legal system is more precise than that of Europe in the 15th century AD, such as their solar force, which can be as accurate as the last 3 digits of a decimal point, in addition to the help provided by the high-tech technology system. The complex and precise legal system can also be proud of the Mayans' passion for astronomy. Their literature is a part of their religious culture. Mayan priests will use literature to understand the laws of the world and predict the future. The faith of the Mayans includes the worship of many gods and the worship of the ancestors. The living sacrifice is the highest form of sacrifice for the Mayans. The Mayans will hold a sacrifice ceremony for the new king's ascension and the construction of large buildings, etc. The noble husband, such as the princess of the enemy, is usually the most popular, and the humble husband is usually used as a slave, just like other civilizations. The Mayan civilization has not been able to escape the history of the decline of the new god after the anti-sacrifice period of nearly half a century. The collective political collapse of the Mayan city-state began in the mid-14th century. What are the specific reasons for the decline and collapse of the Mayan civilization that we do not know at present? It may also be due to environmental pollution or war, plague and natural disasters. The Aztec civilization is an important civilization that emerged after the Mayan civilization. The Aztec is a common name for many tribes. The Aztecs call themselves the Mexicans in about 1325. The Mexicans built a city in the middle of Mexico called Tenochtitlan. Tenochtitlan grew through other tribes around Sina and became one of the most powerful cities in the Aztec civilization before the arrival of the Spaniards. The population of Tenochtitlan, which is about 1,500 years old, had reached more than 100,000 people. The Aztec Empire, which existed between the 15th and 16th centuries, was a city-state alliance established in the center of Tenochtitlan. The purpose of this alliance was to confront another local power, the military alliance established by Azcapotzalco. But after Azcapotzalco was defeated, the three-way alliance continued to be maintained later. The strong force of this alliance began to expand in the Central American region. Many tribes, unable to resist the Aztec Empire's force, rose up against it. These conquered tribes can maintain a considerable degree of independence, but heavy taxes are inevitable. The taxation system under the rule of the Aztec Empire is usually carried out in the form of confiscation of antiques, cloth, and fur. Just like other Central American societies, Mexicans also have their own religion. Their religion is based on the Aztec myth of multidimensional worship. In order to please the gods, Mexicans also carry out human sacrifices, and their scale and frequency of human sacrifices are unheard of in other American civilizations. In the sacrificial ceremony, the Mexican priests will live from the offerings out of the heart and give it to the gods. After that, the body will be thrown off the altar and be dismembered by people. And whether it's Maya civilization or Aztec civilization, although it's been in the center of North America and Central America for a long time, but compared to the European society of the same period, they are still too backward. It may be difficult for you to imagine that until the end of the 16th century, there were no vehicles in the Americas. And as for why there is such a big gap between American civilization and European civilization, some people think that the geographical situation of the direction of the Americas and the greater climate difference between the North and the South hinder the spread of species and culture. And some people think that America lacks a large ecosystem such as pigs, horses, cows, and sheep. The productivity and technological development of America is therefore greatly restricted, and the backwardness caused by the above reasons will cause great trouble for this continent in the future. Although the early North America did not develop a civilization to the extent of India, Maya, or Aztec, it does not mean that this is the vacuum of civilization. In fact, there are also complex and diverse civilizations and social groups. For example, in the northern region, there are Indians who are known for building posters. In the western region, there are Pueblo people who build flat-roofed houses. In the forest areas in the east of the United States, there are indigenous Indians who live by farming and hunting. In the large plains, there are Plains Indians who live by hunting, etc. In some tribes in North America, there are many mother societies, such as the Iroquois, one of the indigenous Indians. The men here are in charge of hunting, fighting, and plowing. Women stay at home to take care of the farm and children. Therefore, Iroquois women often control society and economic organizations. So in general, although the indigenous communities of North America show a complex diversity, they also form some divisions. Some tribes use the same language, but they still think that they do not belong to the same civilization. So when Europeans threaten their lives in the future, they can't unite effectively, which is also one of the important reasons why they are unable to resist the invasion of white people. In their eyes, these white people who are different from them are just from another tribe. And looking back at the North American continent in the 15th century, the daily life of the Iroquois is monotonous, but at least it is harmonious and stable overall. But these North American Aborigines did not expect that when they were gradually improving their social customs and etiquette, a change was taking place in a world beyond their knowledge. And the power from this unknown world will make all the gods or gods of the new group who they worship and worship in the future disappear. A changing world is about to emerge in the continent of America.